Welcome. We have the live Q&A, fantasy Q&A panel going on over here. We are Fantasy Sports Advice Network, a community content platform for fantasy football. And what we do is, content and community. Hanging out with guys like this. Meatball, what's up, man? Glad you're here. And just, talking ball. So I've got some great guys that all host shows with us here that are going to be available for you. Anybody that has your fantasy football questions for this season, you want to know maybe some deep sleepers, or you're debating on who you're going to take in the 7th, these guys got you. So y'all ready? Real quick, just introduce yourself, the show on our network at FF Advice Net, the show you do, and so they can know.
What's up, everybody? I'm Greinberg. I one half of the fantasy forecast on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, and also the host of the Dynasty Pulse for the network as well. And then we got big man over here.
Yeah, I'm Joe Frick. No, that's your line. Sorry. I'm Brian Hartman. I with Too Much Fantasy Football over there on the network.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Joe Frick, a.k.a. Frick Nasty to God. I co-host with Tyler on Fridays with From the Forum, director of social media and community. So, yeah, good to be here. Let's have a good time.
Dan Mader, host of Operation Domination, #1 podcast on the network.
Boo.
Just putting that out there.
rigged.
Little shade.
Number 1. What's up?
I don't know. I heard that might have been broken last year, month. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Yeah. My name's Chris. I'm at Chris the Cardman on Twitter. I host the Devi Dojo, a new podcast on our Grindhouse network on YouTube. So we love Devi football, talking college ball.
Love it, love it. So you actually can get your rookie prospect questions in today, real early. So I'm gonna open it up. If you have a question, you wanna ask the panel a question, let me know. I'll come over, bring the mic over to you.
If not, we're gonna sing.
Where are you guys at with the tiers of quarterbacks? Like the early round Lamar Jackson, or do you want like the mid round Caleb Williams or something? Or are you just gonna fade to the Trevor Lawrence? Because I do a lot of best ball and stuff like that. And I think paying for Lamar Jackson is worth it if you build correctly. But I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I guess in the lens of best ball, if I'm taking one of those quarterbacks early, unless I'm specifically going for that build with the Ravens or something like that, I'm trying to go for the lowest one in that tier. Like for me, it's the big four. It's Hurts, it's Lamar, it's Allen, and then Daniels. I'd rather take that 3rd, 4th round discount on that tier than take the guys that are going there around the 2nd tier. But if I'm not taking those, I'm punting the position. There's a lot, QB 7 to QB 13 that are really intriguing, but QB 10 to QB 20 are also intriguing. I believe it was only 1.5 points that separated QB 6 from QB 13 last year. Well, 1.5 points per game. So with that, give me the value. Let me shake it and take it a little later.
Plus, the other element of that is that I'm going for a cheaper stack. It's kind of hard to stack a Lamar Jackson. First of all, your options are limited to begin with. Maybe you can get Andrews a little bit later at the tight end position if you want to do it that way. But I don't really love stacking him with a Zay Flowers or even a Mark Andrews. So for me, it's a little bit harder. Same thing kind of goes for Josh Allen. There's no real stack there. So it's fine if you want to build it outside of that as like a unique kind of a roster thing, but it's not usually the way I'm going to attack. And then when you look at the quarterbacks this year, and this goes for redraft too as well, once you get to QB 8, like for me in my projections, I only have 1.3 points dividing my QB 8 and my QB 12, and after that I only have, I think it's 0.7 dividing QB 13 to QB 18 this year. And a lot of guys have this rushing upside, so it's hard to do it unless now some of the leagues that we were in, like Draft Night Out, I don't know about you guys, but we had quarterbacks like Lamar, like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts falling to the 5th, 6th round. It does come kind of tough when we're going into that range and those guys are on the board, so it's a little different story. So that just goes with how your draft is going.
Yeah, I think from the redraft perspective for me, the person that I've been targeting a lot, usually around the 8th round, Justin Fields. We know that he's in a new situation. We know that he's going to run the ball. Do we have those accuracy concerns? Of course. But if you can get that upside with him 7th, 8th round, you've built out mostly the rest of your team. I hate going QB early. I hate going tight end early as well. It's like, give me all of the depth at running back and wide receiver early. How I've approached it is like, you can get him in 7th, 8th, and maybe you don't have him for the season, but I think that he's secure for this year. So in a redraft scenario, I love him this year. If he spikes in a dynasty team, I'm probably trying to get rid of him because I don't have a lot of faith in him in the long term. But when he's on the field, he's going to be playing, and I don't think they have enough confidence in Tyrod Taylor to really do anything with that. So I think he's good for the year. You're really supposed to let Tyrod start the year because once he get hurt, it unlocks like a new tier in the quarterback that's the backup for him, right?
I think there's a couple like wild card plays this year, especially at that position. Like I think Drake May is going to steam up as well. I like the rushing upside he brings. And then Justin Fields is the guy that I'm targeting quite often because of that upside that you get when these guys can emerge. We know when he's on the field, he's a top 10 quarterback with that rushing upside. And I'm really liking the connection there with, former Ohio State wide receiver Garrett Wilson. I think he's going to be hyper targeted this year. I think that connection is going to be good and that rushing upside. So I'm targeting Justin Fields, like Joe said.
Don't forget about Penix and Lawrence, who are we're talking QB 21, QB 20 right now, ADP. Like with Liam Cohen, they have the weapons there with BTJ. We'll see what Travis Hunter can be as a part-time wide receiver or however they're going to play that out. But they have weapons there now with the right coaching staff. We have not seen Lawrence with an actual good play caller. And then with Penix, you're talking about a guy, I've been telling everybody this. He might be Jameis Winston without the interceptions as far as how he's going to play the game with the YOLO ball. He proved it really early on that he's willing to go deep. And he's got London, he's got Mooney. Maybe Pitts' athleticism can finally factor in here, but the most important thing is he's got Bijan. So the quarterback's real hard for me to take early.
Yeah, I love the Penix call too, because Penix was absolutely phenomenal in his 3 games that he started. He had a better deep ball completion percentage than even Josh Allen, or I think it was the deep ball PFF rating. So he's a guy that I'm targeting a whole lot, and the NFC South is notoriously high-scoring offenses and no defense. They're playing in a lot of domes. There's a lot of opportunity there, and that's a relatively cheap stack if you can manage to get Drake London fairly early. You could get Mooney pretty, mid-round, mid to late rounds, and Kyle Pitts is even going pretty late too. So I love a little Falcon stack.
Sure.
I'll never quit, man. I'll never quit.
Hey, here's the deal. Kyle Pitts increases his touchdown output by 1 every year. So by year 9, 10, just do the math.
10-year breakout. Let's go. What do you got?
So I have an approach I've been kind of dealing with that tight end this year. So again, I love Trey McBride, but he's expensive. Early to mid second round is sometimes tough to swallow for a tight end, even with Brock Bowers. So if I don't get one of those guys, I've found that in the about 7th or 8th round, Travis Kelce is there. And I know he's older, but 80% of Travis Kelce is probably better than 100% of other tight ends. So is that a good bargain to grab a guy that has top 10 upside of Travis Kelce in the 7th round at tight end?
I like him a lot more in best ball because I think he's going to get some touchdowns. He's going to get some looks, but it's hard to trust a guy like that when you can wait a little bit more on Tyler Kraft or a Jake Ferguson or a guy who might put a pretty similar output that's a couple rounds later for me.
It's kind of my issue with a lot of those mid-round tight ends is end of the day, you need to have the mindset that those are streamers. Yeah, you're drafting them early, but those are streamer-style tight ends. But when you draft and have that kind of capital put into it, you feel more that you should be starting them each and every week, kind of like Patrick Mahomes was as far as quarterback goes last year. Yeah, you weren't happy a single week that you started him, but you weren't getting rid of him. You had the draft invest into it. So I don't like putting myself in that position outside of best ball for guys like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, just those mid-tier tight end. Let me take a shot on Britton Strange, who I know I'm going to be playing in and out each and every week. Let me go for the Kyle Pitts maybe and just hit on that upside, but I don't feel like I'm locked into that guy like you would if you put a little bit more draft capital in that.
Let me piggyback off of that real quick because he kind of brings up a really good point. So historically, anytime you take a tight end outside the top 6, you're probably going to be streaming, and it's going to be based on touchdowns. So with Travis Kelce being that he's declined consistently the last few years, I'd rather wait to take. We got Loveland going in like the back end of the 11th round. Somebody who's going to be running a lot of routes for them. You have Kincaid. If Knox gets out of the way, he's got some potential upside. You have Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, who are kind of more in that Kelce tier, but there's still a couple rounds later too. So I'd rather go with guys who are more suited for that have some upside touchdown wise than spend a 6th rounder on Kelce.
Or you go with the kind of the same demographic as like a George Kittle style. So you like the Tucker Kraft falls right in that range where you get that yak ability. You know, he can be a game changer when he's on the field. And you're looking at these tight end rooms where there's not really an alpha wide receiver, somebody that can get that number 1 target in that offense. And that's Tucker Kraft for me. He's got the range there with the yak ability, and I got him as my tight end 5 this year. I'm going that bold, and people need to know Tucker Kraft. Okay.
Hey, you know, and as far I have invested in Kelce, but not in the 6th and 7th round, in like the 9th and 10th round, because the narrative does have him. So if he falls, it's kind of like the quarterback. If he falls enough, I'm there. But I will tell you this. Sometimes you just see how somebody takes care of themselves. Kelce last year, like, you could see the love handles. Like he was out of shape. He wasn't.
There's nothing wrong with that.
He lost 40 pounds coming into the season. Like I think last year was a gut check, and like you're a Kelce, you don't want to be bad.
A gut check?
I think he might surprise. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the one-liners. Anybody else got a question? All right.
Hey guys, I have a super flex question, mainly with quarterbacks. I have trouble with getting a 3rd quarterback, or if I should, depending on how many you start, like if it's a start 10 or a start 11. So my real question is, what round would you get a 3rd round, like in a start 11?
I think a lot of that for me, and I hate to do this answer, but it comes down to your league. I think that's where a lot of having that knowledge of your league, like my home league, it's super flex. Just about everybody takes 4 quarterbacks. It's so dumb, and I hate it, and I only take 2, and I get screwed by week 4 because I don't have a pivot, but it's just kind of how the value falls for me. So I think you kind of know it when you see it. When you see there's still a handful of guys, because when you grab your 3rd quarterback, I typically want it to be a dart throw. Give me an Anthony Richardson. Give me a Daniel Jones. Give me something within that realm that could really outweigh or really beat that ADP versus the rest of these guys. They're all just kind of giving you what they are.
And I got to follow up to that is like, really depends on who your quarterback 1 is and who your top 2 are. If I have like mid quarterback 1, mid quarterback 2, I'm looking for some upside here, and I'm gonna probably reach up and get my quarterback 3 because I'm not going to be able to rely on my 1 and 2 every week. If I had Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, or Jaden Daniels, and then I have a solid like Baker Mayfield or somebody that I could like put in the lineup that's solid floor every week, Jared Goff, then I'm not worried about quarterback. I could stream on the weeks. I could put a wide receiver in my super flex spot for that 1 week. But if I have a weaker top 2, then I'm going to be reaching a little bit higher on that 3rd quarterback.
I think something to keep in mind too, we talk about the running back class for 2025. That's going to be quarterback 2026. So if you're doing a startup this year, it's like if you only have 2, like next year is going to be a really good opportunity to get that 3rd quarterback. So like you were saying, if you have that kind of depth to get you through this season, then you don't necessarily have to waste that pick. So that's where I would go with it.
I was specifically talking about my DNO yesterday. I had Knicks, and I got Burrow at 9. Thank you. So I was waiting. I'm still waiting, I believe. Yes, if I remember correctly. Too many leagues. But I'm thinking that maybe I'll take a shot at Richardson or to see how my roster is, see if I'm strong at running back, strong at wide receiver. And like you all said, like it all depends on the league format. There are so many factors into this. So that's where I should have started with that.
I would say I just don't want to be in a position where I'm panicking on quarterback because I traditionally will be a little bit later on quarterbacks, and I'm not necessarily willing to take a super high or like stack quarterback even in super flex. But you want to watch how the draft's going because you don't want to be in a position where you're panicking and you're like, I need to grab guys now because I'm in desperation mode. I like a lot Bryce Young as a late target. I think he's still pretty undervalued. I took him yesterday in my DNO, which was just traditional redraft, but I took him, I think, second to last round, like 15th round or something. So you just got to feel out how the league's going and how the draft's going. Look at the guys near you. Are they already loaded at quarterback? Do you think they're going to snipe you? You know what I mean? But you don't want to be panicking in a super flex where suddenly you're like, J.J. McCarthy's my first quarterback, and you don't know, he's basically a rookie. What's going to happen there, right?
So I want to jump in on that same line of questioning. What's your strategy for sniping, let's say, a QB1? I mean, obviously, nobody's going to do anything stupid, pick a kicker in the first round, but if you're going to snipe a player, when's the best time? Like a quarterback, I see people going third round as early. I've seen it as early as first round, and you're like, to me that's a head scratcher. Why are you doing a quarterback in the first round? But what is your sniping strategy to pick up, let's say, your QB1? When are you gonna pull the trigger and give up value on other players?
Yeah, I'm confident in my own analysis typically, which is my downfall sometimes, but I tend to have an idea after the first round or two of where I want to go, and I don't try to focus on other teams. I don't want other teams to dictate my draft strategy. But if it's like towards the end where there's a turnaround or something, I'm always going to be looking. If there's 2 or 3 teams that are going to be getting 2 picks before my next one, what do they have? I want to snipe on them if I can. Just if it's a similar range, a similar tier of player, I'm going to jump in on them for sure.
Where you're drafting in the draft matters. So like if you're in the middle of the round, I don't feel pressure to snipe anything because I'm going to have value regardless of the position. But if I'm in the front end or the back end, then that's when you have to start to get a little bit creative. But even then, I'm never thinking about one position that I'm definitely going to attack unless I'm at the back end. I'm like, all right, I need to go get this position now. When we're talking 8th, 9th, 10th round at that point, especially a quarterback position. But when I think we were saying this earlier too before you got here, right now, like if I'm going to get a Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow in the 5th round, fine. It's too much value for me to pass up. Otherwise, there's too many guys from you have Brock Purdy at like QB 10, all the way to Drake May at QB 16, all the way to Lawrence at 19, all the way to Penix at 20. If I just take 2 of those guys within that 10 to 20 range, I'm good with that. You're going to be able to load up at every other position and really have the depth. What I love about that is that not only do you have your core at the running backs, your core at the wide receivers, but I was able to take upside shots because I already had the depth there. And I'm not asking for a big gap with those guys with their upside points per game basis. There might be, like, let's say Allen gets 25 points a game. There might be a 3-point gap between him and that tier. All right, it could be up to 5. But then that's why you have 2 guys because you're mixing and matching based off the matchup. You can kind of close that gap a little easier. Does that make any sense?
You know what I love about that question? Like the question is when do I snipe, right? So like I feel like you're the guy that shows up with your home league and you're like, hey, so what do you think about this player? And you're like filling out the room just so that you can make sure you get your guy before somebody else does.
Weirdly enough, every person on his team is a jersey that someone else is wearing in the draft.
Yeah. Got another question here.
How you guys doing? So I know ADP is super important on how you rank through. When do you stop going off of that and start going with your gut of people that you know that you want to pick up, whether they fall earlier or fall later in the rounds?
Like for me, I think if I know my guy is going to be around, I'm reaching when I want him. Like honestly, because there's sharps that are going to do the same thing. Like I'm not out of the realm of drafting a guy a round or 2 ahead of their ADP because oftentimes a lot of these platforms that are providing that ADP, like Sleeper, is a bit behind. Okay, so they're not caught up yet. So the sharps in the room will be caught up to that, and they're going to be drafted. Say Emeka Ibuka is a guy this year that is going a round or 2 ahead of his ADP in a lot of the sleeper leagues that I'm in, and I'm picking him in a round or 2 ahead of where he is because I see that potential. And if you have conviction on a player and you think that player is going to explode this year, those are the stabs that are going to, put your team ahead, right? It's those late round or those middle round gems that are going to propel your team, because usually, the top 2 rounds is pretty solidified, right? There's not a whole lot of movement there. You can lose a draft by picking the wrong first round guy, right? But when you're reaching for those players, go on your gut and don't be afraid to do it, a round or 2 ahead for sure.
I think too, if I were to answer, I got to give a generic answer, double-digit rounds. Just to give something safe. By that point. But at the same time, once you get out of round 4, if you got a guy you want to go get him. I don't care. You can take him 20 spots ahead. Now you don't want to do every one of your picks, where you're reaching 20. But like if there's somebody you believe in, you want him, and your season's gonna be more fun if you have him, go get him. I'm cool with that.
Are you talking about home leagues? Because if you're talking about home leagues, you can throw ADP out the window in the first 2 rounds. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's never gonna go the same way.
If you don't take the kicker first, then you can't get the first kicker.
Commander's defense, bring it on. No, so the big thing is that you go in, you know what platform you're going to be on, see what the ADP of that platform is, but then figure out if you're doing your homework, you're going to have certain guys, certain positions that you just really want to have for whatever reason that may be. Don't be afraid to go 2 rounds earlier to make sure you grab that guy. All right.
I think the other aspect of that too is I think when you get into the later round ADPs, I think a lot of them end up being like auto drafts, and it's I think there's a lot of wasted picks at the end for people that you'll never actually be able to start. Am I going to draft the wide receiver 2 for the Titans? No. His ADP might be there because for whatever reason, but once I have probably my full lineup and then a backup wide receiver, a backup running back, I'm throwing dart throws for people that I can get as a league winner. I don't want to take just a random guy that's going to get 8 points that I might be able to use one time. It's give me other people's handcuffs so that they don't have them. Give me that guy that I can throw on the IR so I have another spot later that I think can have a late start. So it's attacking the draft of all right, this is a guy that I think can maybe not have an impact on my team week 1, but by week 6, week 7, let's see him grow into that role. I think that's a great way to get ahead of people and not wait for the waivers to dictate how you're going to play out the season.
Hey guys, I have a question that kind of relates to what you guys are just talking about. Are there any specific players this year that you are looking to reach for, that you've got in your in your backpack that you're bringing to the draft? Hey, I want to get this guy, or I've done a lot of research on this guy. Maybe some other people don't know about. If you've got that'd be great to share. The other question I have, little off topic, but how has AI helped or kind of influenced you guys or the industry in general? Because it seems to be kind of something that's really taking on a bigger part of fantasy football.
AI is my favorite for coming up with fantasy team names, because you just get a basic idea and you're like, hey, ChatGPT, hey, Grok, this is what I want. Here's my players. Give me something cool. And then it comes up with way better ideas that you could ever have thought of yourself, right? The guy that I'm targeting super early, my 101, is Jahmyr Gibbs. I know he's going typically top 5, but I'm not afraid to press the button on him as early as the first pick in the draft this year.
So the answer to the AI question, it's a little bit tough because I don't think we have felt the full impact of that yet and what that's going to really be within a couple of years. There's guys out there generating, general articles and stuff like that, and we know we try not to do that. You want actual original content. You want to actually have a process behind it. They're just all you're really doing is crewing everything from the internet, and it's putting into a sentence right at the end of the day. So there's some of that where you have to look out for. I don't think you're getting the best advice. And the guys who are not editing, you're getting advice on players from 2 years ago because it doesn't have last year's data. It's from a couple of seasons ago. So it's kind of impacted in a bad way from that sense. Again, it's a tool, right? I don't think we felt the full impact of that from that side. As far as some sleepers go, look, I'm big on Ricky Pearsall at the wide receiver position. I think if you're talking guys who have the most upside, that's the guy there. Juwan Jennings is a 5th year, 6th year breakout. Maybe he's a real calf injury. Maybe he's holding in. We'll see. But I know Brandon Ayuk, when he held in, not dealing with the ACL, held in, didn't practice, was terrible. So now we're going to do this where you're going to come halfway through the season and then try to get up to speed. I don't think Ayuk's going to be a thing this year. So Pearsall's a big one for me at the wide receiver position. And at running back right now, I'm just watching Jacksonville very, very closely right now. Who is that rotation going to be? I want it to be Bashal Tootin. He's got the player profiler type of a Jamal Charles. I want it to be him. I don't know if it'll be him this year. But whoever shakes out, whoever's the 1-2 down guy for a Liam Cohen system is going to have a healthy efficiency rating this year. So if that's Tank Bigsby, if that's Travis Etienne, it might have been after we watched the game, looked like Travis Etienne was playing well with the ones. We'll see if that stays the same or not, but I'm watching that one.
They are all, and all those running backs in that offense are very cheap. Like Etienne's like ninth
Tank
round.
is 12th round.
Yeah, so.
As far as like that AI question that you said there, I think like Dan touched on it, is how you use it, really. You use it as a tool to help you, format some stuff. It can be a really great tool for content creation as far as, putting the steps, but you're a creator and you have to be putting your voice forward, and it helps with some of the technical things in the background with descriptions and stuff like that for us to like create content, but it doesn't create our content for us, and that's a big differential that we have to, as a community, really embrace. And I know Ronnie's doing a presentation, I think, about AI as well, and within the industry. So it's growing, and it's going to be something that is going to need to be embraced, but we have to do it in a way that is constructive. As far as some sleepers go, I'll give you one for every position. For me, Drake May, as far as quarterback, he's going pretty late. Essentially, he's quarterback 16, 17 with the rushing upside. Some of the tools New England is putting around him, I think he's going to definitely beat his ADP. For me, I'm all in on Chase Brown again this year as a guy that's in a high-powered offense. He finished, I think, as the RB7 last year, and that upside's there, and he's going outside the top 10 right now. So as a game breaker, I think that as long as he can stay healthy, I think that solidifies him for the full year. I mentioned Emeka Ibuka as a wide receiver, a guy that, there's getting compared to like the Rome Odunze situation, the JN situation for their rookie seasons. I don't think that's the same situation there in Tampa. I think he's going to emerge this year and be a key player right out of the gate, especially with the aging Mike Evans and Chris Godwin being kind of banged up right now. I think that there's an opportunity here right out of the gate for him to be there. And once he has that opportunity, the talent level, he's just not going to, let that go. And then I mentioned Tucker Kraft as my guy there. So these are four of my guys I'm targeting. And if you look at my sleeper leagues, I put my money where my mouth is. They're on my squads, and that's how you should roll.
One more I wanted to add in, and then because people aren't looking at this one, this is a guy who might not even get drafted, especially in your home leagues, is Kyle Monungai. He has a profile type that fits David Montgomery, gap scheme, one cut. Both had 4.6s. Like, we're not crazy fast in the 40s, but great vision, great for that system. Roshan's banged up, but Monungai was already taking reps away from him before that even happened. So that's somebody who's going like the 18th round right now. So I wanted to add him in there too.
Yeah, I think the guy that I've been reaching for pretty consistently is Alvin Kamara. So he's been going like running back 18, but he's only had 2 years where he hasn't finished outside the top 12 in his career. If you look at the way that Kellen Moore's offenses operate, they are well above 60 plays a game. So even if he's not on the field every play, just the amount of touches that he's going to have access to is really good. The other guy for me is Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is like the very unsexy, like floor wide receiver, but he produces a consistent output, over 120 targets last year, and that was with like Farva from Super Troopers throwing him the football. So big upgrade with Geno Smith. I think that he's somebody that you can get like in the 8th round. I have him, I think, on every draft that I've done this year. So it's just like I just keep finding myself, I can't quit Jacoby Myers.
Cowards. You're all cowards. They're sitting here asking for sleepers. You're throwing out tight ends, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. Let's talk about the kickers here. That's what they're looking for. They want Ryland for the Cardinals. Vegas has got him as one of the highest team point totals. Let's go with that. Let's grab the kicker from the team that might be scoring the most.
Not Tyler Loop.
It's easy.
Not,
It's too easy.
Not Cam Little, who just booted the 70-yarder. Yeah.
Preseason, that's nothing. We've been doing that. Come on.
I'm in a league that has 2 IR spots. And when my draft comes up, I want to grab one of the guys that's out there that's hurt and stash him away. So my question for each of you guys, who would you take and stash him away if you're in the same position as me?
Rashi Rice.
Brandon Ayuk.
No.
Well, here's the thing. Rashi Rice's thing is going to be a suspension.
You can put suspended on IR usually.
Usually speaking, you don't get to suspend the players on the
Yeah,
IR.
I'm commissioner.
so
I changed those settings.
Yeah, I like Ayuk a whole lot as a stash. You know, he's been very good in the past, and we know he didn't have a great year last year, and just in general, the Niners were kind of in flux. But Purdy is consistently underrated. He's been 6th in fantasy points per dropback since he came into the league, and that entire wide receiver situation is crazy. So Dan alluded to Pearsall being basically the only. I mean, I don't even think he's healthy anymore. I think he's on the sidelines a little bit, but Jawan's been hurt. Everybody's been hurt throughout camp. I think that whenever all is said and done, if Brandon Ayuk can come back healthy, he's going to be the go-to guy yet again in a situation where everything's a little bit murky.
Right now, even though I wouldn't do that because everything I laid out with Ayuk not practicing last year, I do think he's the only player where that conversation comes into play right now because there's nobody else that we know is going to be injured for weeks into the season right now that we would even be targeting for that reason anyway. But to give you a general idea, because this does come up, like if you can get a guy that if his current value, let's just say it was an injury, not a suspension for Rashi Rice, he would be a second-round wide receiver that you would be drafting, that you can get him in the 5th or the 6th. That's the type of discount I'm looking to put those guys on an IR spot. So even though he's not hurt, you probably won't be able to do that. That's the value gap I'm looking for to justify a move like that.
What do you guys think? Do you find that Joe Mixon could be one of those guys?
I don't think Joe Mixon's going to play this season. So from
That's
everything
crazy.
I am hearing right now, this ankle injury might be really wonky. I was talking to Dr. Brian Scott, who comes on our show every week during the season on Operation Domination. And he was telling me, he was like, with this ankle injury, with how much complications there's been with the surgeries, there's a real good shot we don't see Mixon at all this season. So he doesn't come up for me for that.
And I guess maybe one more that could potentially start there is Chris Godwin as well. And we know what he does when he's in the lineup, right? Playing the slot role. He was a top 5 wide receiver last year while playing. So if he does start it, that's an automatic one for me as well. Yeah, so Chris Godwin.
Awesome. Open up for some more questions. Again, these guys are here to answer your fantasy questions during this panel. So bring them on.
So one of the strategies I've been looking at this year is to start with a wide receiver and then go back-to-back running back. And what I've found in doing that is I love my wide receiver. They are league-winning wide receivers, Chase, Lamb, JJ. But I don't really love my 2 running backs. So I get maybe a Chase Brown, but then I don't really have a second person. Like Irving and Chase Brown, I'm having a hard time getting those 2 because of where I'm falling in the drafts. So, but I'm worried about taking Saquon, Gibbs, Bijan in the first round and putting so much draft stock in a running back first round, given the history of injuries and potential, not explosive numbers from the running back from the first round. So I just want to get your idea on, is that a valid concern, and should I start to look at running back, wide receiver running back instead of wide run?
Can I just ask a question for your question? Do you know your draft position, or are you just kind of floating around?
I've done it twice. So I've drafted from the middle, which I liked a little better, and I've drafted from the front, 102, and I did not like the 102 at all. So the 105 worked out a little better, but still not super happy with my running back starters. I get running back depth later, but not a huge fan of my 1-2 punch into running backs.
Follow-up question to that real quick. What type of league are you typically playing in? Is it 2 running back, 3 receivers, and a flex, or is it 2-2-2, or?
Standard is 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, tight end. All that's standard.
Okay.
Standard layout.
So with that, if it's not three receivers that you need, and it's just 2, and 1, sounds like I don't care about position at that point. I just want value because you're gonna get the depth to be able to take upside shots later on, wherever position you feel weak at. Just give me the value for each round. But to help you kind of out with the whole, like, was it wide receiver, running back, and 2 guys that you like there later on, what about Chase Brown, Kyron Williams? Because that's about the range kind of you're talking about. Kyron Williams, look, they're going to have to prove to me that they're actually going to take him off the field before I'll believe that they'll actually take him off the field. McVay, especially inside the 5, McVay loves him. That's not going to go anywhere. They just gave him a contract extension, too. So he's part of the plans for the future. That's something you can do there. I still like Omarion Hampton in that area. A guy who's in the mid-round that I wouldn't call him a sleeper because we're talking like 4th round, but Kenneth Walker. I am all over Kenneth Walker in a Kubiak-led system. He was made for that system. So they're going to be a run-first team up there in Seattle. Charbonnet can still get sprinkled in. I don't think that's going to matter because Walker's going to be super explosive with that wide zone that they run there. So Kenneth Walker's a big one that you can maybe even wait another round and go wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, and still come back with Walker in the 4th. Him and Charbonnet could both eat in that system.
I just took all the players that you've talked about the last 2 questions in my DNO yesterday. Ayuk, Rice, Walker, Kyron, even though I'm a pretty big Kyron fader. If you can find value, you want to take value. So I completely agree with that answer.
I think some of it too, like, unfortunately, man, I think you're overthinking it or putting yourself in a position to overthink it. Now, because I was the same way for the longest time. Like, I wanted to have this mapped out. I wanted to have this game plan. But I'd get in round 2 of my home league, and nobody else did what they were supposed to do. I had this plan. They were supposed to follow it. They're supposed to help me out, make sure that I excel well, and they dropped the ball. So all of a sudden, I'm tilting so much harder than I normally do because my plan is way off base. So I like the idea of making sure, you're going in there, hey, I may want to aim for a wide receiver and then double up running back, but you got to let it fall to you too. Because sometimes the best value may fall to you, and you don't take it because you're locked into that plan you had ahead of time. So, stay watered, make sure you're flexible, run through it, but don't overthink it. You definitely dive into it, man. I'm all down spending every waking second. But
especially with that format that he's talking about, like that 2 and 2, Dan said it the best. That position scarcity is out the window now, right? Now you're just picking the values. So come into the draft with not really a plan, but just know that you have some value because your plan is going to go off rails quite fast. Like maybe round 1 might go your way, but then you're pivoting. So just go on the value, especially when there's not a position that is going to run dry right away, and then just go with the value there for sure. Like you mentioned, some of those running backs in rounds 1 and 2. If you're worried about the injury of like an HN or a smaller running back like Gibbs, guys like Josh Jacobs are coming in with such a great floor. A guy that hasn't really missed any time really throughout the years, other than when that stuff was going on with the Raiders, where that might have been more contract situation than anything. So, look at these guys. If you're afraid of the guys with the league breaking, well, there's some, league winning upside with some of these floor guys, and then you can go with the upside wide receivers that you're talking about as well. So, that'd be a strategy I would use. But remember that, league format is everything. Knowing what you're drafting ahead of the time is going to help you so much through the whole draft. So your league, that is the biggest edge you can have, is knowing how your format is ran, because that's going to give you the biggest edge, I find.
I can tell you just from the perspective of draft spot, this year, doing a lot of drafts and just seeing how they've fallen, in the first half, I've typically gone hero RB. I get my 1 stud, and then I stack wide receivers later. And then I target somebody mid-range, like a Travion Henderson or something like that. If I'm drafting in the back half, I have gone wide receiver, and get running back later. I think that there's a distinct drop-off after those first 4 or so go. And so that's typically how they've landed where I go, I like this roster. By the way, guys, if you hopefully you are enjoying the panel, keep bringing the questions. All these guys do some amazing content. FSAN.com, Fantasy Sport Advice Network. Make sure you go check it out. Tons of stuff. We just launched our subscription model. But the cool thing is these guys are reachable. So when you interact with our content, you interact with our people. I mean, you've experienced on our platform, like you got a fantasy question mid-season, they're there for you. And they're going to answer those, and they're going to be there. And so make sure you check out FSAN.com, and we'll keep the questions rolling.
Hey, guys. I want every one of your answers to this. If you had to give one piece of advice to someone who's playing fantasy for the first time this season, what would be your piece of advice?
Have fun. Enjoy. That is the... No, I'm just... Be ruthless. Don't be afraid to reach for your guys if you want them on your team. It's all about having fun, especially as a beginner. You want it to be fun for yourself, to be engaged in the community, have fun at the draft, be in the chats, go into Sleeper and engage with that, because the more fun you have with your community, with your league, chances are it'll run a lot longer. So I know it was a pretty corny answer and maybe not what you were looking for, but that's how I got hooked, right? It was fun, and we had a great community of people in our draft, and we're 18 years later, and it's still the same pretty much 12 people that started out, and it's because of the community that we built. So it's all about having fun.
I would expect no less from Canada. I would expect no less. The real answer is that you listen to Operation Domination. That's the real answer of what you do.
So I think
shameless plug.
My advice would be that as the moment the draft ends, ADP and what you paid for players goes out the window. I think a lot of times where people get into trouble, especially if you're going to navigate like trade waters or like, hey, like I can't drop this person because I drafted them at this round. It's like nobody cares that you took Patrick Mahomes in the 5th round last year. He's not putting the points up. So, like, I'm not going to trade for that person just because it is what it is. People get really weird about that. So I think it's just the draft happens, you reset, and you're also probably going to mess up some picks. If we all knew what was going to happen in the draft, fantasy football would be incredibly boring. I probably shouldn't be saying this in a QA panel. Tyler, cover your ears. But we're all mostly guessing. Some people guess consistently better than others, but what happens? You drafted, you had a plan, fine. I go crazy on the waivers. I probably do 100 transactions a year for fun. I love it. That's why I hate Dynasty. There's like nothing out there. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, along those lines, I would say absolutely be active on waivers. Don't be afraid to cut players that you had high hopes for and they're just not producing. And if you're in a fab league, I love to wait. Just wait for a while. There's going to be somebody who comes along, maybe an RB injury or something, that you just want to be able to spend all your money on, by week 8, week 12, as you're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. So I like to let everybody else kind of use all their fab earlier on in the season, let things play out a little bit, see if I can find an edge or maybe pick up a guy that's a little bit under the radar, and then wait so that later on in the year you can really jump on the guys that are going to have higher impact.
Let me go with, so first-time player, you're going out there, join a second league. Fantasy football, we play this game, and it takes us, 5-ish months to play it? But you only get to do the one draft a year. You only get to make some of these choices once. So it could take you 3 years, obviously, to get through the 3 leagues before you have enough experience and reps that you feel good about it. All it takes is one draft pick or a couple bad draft picks to completely tank your season. And then it kind of discourages it. It makes it no fun. So if you're in multiple leagues, it kind of ups that chances that you won't just get absolutely screwed in that first one. You don't have that bad luck. And to be honest, I play closer to 20 leagues now. I win way more because I got more numbers. It's a shotgun approach, people. It's the easiest way to win. You put more tickets out there. So, maybe go out there. It's intimidating enough being in playing your first time, but maybe grab a second league, maybe a different style of league, just to kind of figure out what you like. But up your chances of not getting hosed completely.
So, kind of in the vein of having fun, a little bit is. Watch football. Like when you play fantasy, so my wife does not love football. She doesn't. But I got her to play fantasy. So then she's playing, and she's got this player on her team that she doesn't even know their last name or what jersey number they're. I'm like, they're that person. And the whole time we're watching, she's like, oh, did they catch the ball? Like, like excited for the next, play to happen. It for me, I know too, it changed my enjoyment of watching football, and made it a lot of fun. So, enjoy it. It's not just stats and numbers. Like, we all enjoy the game, right? And so, in the same vein there.
And one last thing from my end here is like, the draft is just the start of your season. It's all throughout the fantasy, all throughout the NFL season, you're going to be playing. So just be engaged and be, checking your sleeper notifications and try and be the first one that is going to put a claim in, especially depending on your format. Some formats will let you pick up a guy right away, and some will make you put a waiver claim on. But, when somebody gets injured and the backup comes in, that's huge value. And if you're first to the gate on some of these things, you're going to, have some really good upside there.
You can't be double dipping after you play out, have fun. Come on, man. You missed a shot.
Hey, guys. Thanks for all your info. It's very, very helpful when we go back to our drafts and everything. But you guys are all talking about drafts and talk about like free agents and waiver wire and stuff like that. What have you guys seen? You guys have been playing for a while. What have you guys seen the trends of trades? Have you seen trading? Has it increased in your leagues? There are a lot of trades in your leagues. Have you seen it decrease? What do you think some of the reasons are? It may have come down or up or either way.
So what I have discovered with that, because I kind of looked into this a little bit, leagues that have been around for 5+ years seem to start to trade less. The reasons for that, I think, get kind of interesting because I think it's usually a couple of people who are screwing over their league mates too many times and they can't get any trades done as a result of that. There's definitely more trading earlier on. There's definitely more trading amongst beginner players. So also expert level too, like exactly what kind of value you need to ask for. There's going to be less trading in those as well. So I think it kind of depends on your level and then how long you've been a league seems to matter.
I think too, there's a much different dynamic to trading than there was 10 years ago. Like if I'm trying to negotiate a trade with somebody, it used to just be all vibes. Like, hey, you have this guy, I have this guy, like let's just do it. And it's like, well, they were 7.5 points different on keep, trade, cut. I don't think I can do it. And it's like, dude, like, let's just, how can I sweeten the deal? They're like, well, I need you to add in your best player. And it's like, wait, what are we doing here? So I think that because that information is so much readily available, like, people feel like they have to win the trade and see, like, oh, like, my value that I'm getting of this is better. But I think that's put in a weird dynamic. So I know in my leagues, there's like 4 or 5 people that consistently trade, and then no one else really does.
I think community is a big driver. If your chat is active, if people are talking, more trades happen. If you play and nobody's there, they're not sending deals and they're not talking smack or trying to trade when somebody else does another deal. So as much as you can drive conversation, I think that helps it be more active marketplace.
Sometimes I think willing to fall on the sword and take a loss, it helps it as well. For my home league, nobody likes trading with me. My whole home league, they all just laugh at me and they trade amongst themselves. But sometimes I'll go out and send a double-digit player that I took that I'm like, hey, I'm probably going to end up dropping this guy after this week, but let me trade him just to get the ball rolling. Whether you're just trading some deep, 14th round for a 15th round player, but just enough where we can see, hey, the league can see that a trade has happened and the world didn't crumble. They didn't lose. Like, nobody lost. We'll probably both drop those players, so it didn't matter. But just to get the conversation going, kind of break the ice a little bit, I'll usually go for something crazy, something a little quiet.
Yeah, and I think if you want to increase the trading in your leagues, like Brian said, you may have to take a bite on a trade just to get the ball rolling. But once, owners see that you're a very active trader, they're going to come to you. And as long as you're not, being that badass where, you make a great trade, it's great for you, don't rub it in. You want to be the guy that is like, able to trade again, because if you're like that and people obviously know, they're going to be having a hard time trading with you in the future because of that, the way that you portray yourselves in those chats and stuff like that. Usually there's one person in every league that is just a hyper trader, whether they lose a trade or not. Those are the people you target, obviously. And then once the ball starts rolling on the trades, usually you get a lot more happening as the season goes on.
And we try to act like this isn't an emotional game. This is 100% emotion and 99% emotion. FOMO is real, people. The amount of times I see a trade go through in my league, I immediately, oh, what can I make happen? And I spend 10 minutes like, oh, there was nothing to be made. But like, it happens. The emotion hits. People are like, oh, I need to take advantages. I need to rework in a trade. So yeah, lean into it.
Becomes an arms race.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I completely agree with that too, because I have a 10 or 11 year home league, and one guy's won 4 times, and nobody will trade with him anymore. But you definitely, in general, you need to take a loss every once in a while. I would just say be completely confident in yourself, because it's never going to work out exactly as you think it's going to be. But if you're willing to say, maybe I'm taking a bit of a value loss here, that's going to at least get a conversation started. And a lot of times that leads to a second trade, maybe a week later or even days later, hours later. So if you get one initial tiny bit of a trade going where you're saying, man, I'll trade a third for whatever or something like that, you can usually use that to say, hey, I liked these guys on your team too. Can we make an agreement there?
And be a predator out there, okay? Like when you see a player go down, yeah, like I'm saying, like if you see a player go down, like a top guy like Chris Godwin last year, you're gonna know there's gonna be a manager on tilt, right? And they're gonna be looking to make a deal because now all of a sudden their wide receiver 1 is on the bench, right? And they gotta, make up that value somewhere. So look for those situations to happen, because oftentimes there's gonna be some vulnerable owners out there when an injury happens, or there's a guy that you have as their handcuff. Now they're out looking for you, right? So that's where you can be the first one on it, knowing, oh, Godwin went down, well, I got Ibuka. I'm gonna send an offer to this guy because I know I can get some really good value from him now, right?
All right, hi guys. I asked this question of the last panel. I'm going to ask it again. You guys are all new. I'm in a dynasty league where we draft all the rookies and untaken players every year. My question is, we have 4 IDPs in our league, and you start 2 each week. Travis Hunter is the question. Should he get his wide receiver? Now, you're already going to have 2 IDPs starting, but you're going to start Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. Should that team get his defensive points in addition to his wide receiver points?
Yeah, buddy.
I mean, it depends on the settings if they allow it or not. But this reminds me of when Taysom Hill was quarterback and tight end, and if you played him at tight end, you got his quarterback stats. I don't see it being any different, so it should, in my opinion.
As long as the whole league knows the settings, because it reminds me of Shohei Ohtani. So if you play any fantasy baseball, some of the platforms made him a pitcher and a hitter separately, and other platforms let you get points for both. So as long as the entire league knows exactly what's going on, that's going to adjust the value so that people can draft him correctly and so that you can trade for him correctly. But I think he should get both points because I think he's going to be playing more wide receiver. But if he's on both sides of the ball, he deserves to get the points that he's putting up.
And he's got to be drafted as such, right? His ADP's got to be reflective of that being said, right? You know what I mean?
With getting defense, our league is voting on it right now. That's why I'm asking you guys. But with him getting both points both ways in our dynasty draft, he'll be the number 2 pick.
Oh, he should be 101.
You think he should more than Genty?
Oh yeah. He's getting points on both sides of the ball. Like, Genty's great, but you're getting a double dip. You're playing a wide receiver at defensive back. Yeah, sign me up for that.
Huge value gap, yeah.
He went 102 in a IDP startup I did recently. So a Superflex IDP startup. It was Josh Allen, and then it was Travis Hunter. So, yeah, he's absolute slam value if he's going to get both points.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming to the panel. It's been a pleasure. FSAN.com. Check us out.